My Nikon is horrible and I do not recommend it for shooting videos. Why? So if you're considering getting a Nikon camera or you happen to come across my channel because you have a Nikon, the reality is most Nikon cameras are not meant for video capabilities. My Nikon is horrible and I do not recommend it for shooting videos. Why? Well, there's a long list of things like horrible autofocus system, horrible low light performance. You have things like no IBIS, no peaking, doesn't shoot 1080p in 60 frames per second, where even nowadays things like my phone can even shoot 1080p in slow motion 60 frames per second, whereas this camera you have to film in 720p and then upscale it. And there's other annoying things like horrible autofocus and continuous hunting all the time. And overall, like, there's no custom picture profiles, and the list goes on and on and on. And when it comes to having a Nikon camera, if I could look back and be like, would I recommend you use any Nikon 5000 or 7000 or even the D500, a $3,000 camera, Nikon line, to shoot videos? I would highly recommend you do not use it. But if you're fortunate enough like me, there's a lot of good things when it comes to using a Nikon for video, because as a complete beginner, you essentially start from the basics. You work with what you have. And when you get your hands on like a newer camera, you appreciate things such as peaking, zebra, histograms, and continuous autofocus that actually works. And the Nikon camera line is definitely not a bad place to start. It's much more budget friendly, especially if you are on a really tight budget, and you can get this camera secondhand for $300 to $500. As well as the cool thing of having Nikon and being with the Nikon line is that there's a variety of lens selections, versus if you jump into cameras like Sony's or like Panasonic's, they have something along the budget lines of $1,000 to $3,000 just for the lens, and that's not including body and any of the accessories. If you wanted something like a speed booster, that will be another $1,000 to $2,000 on top of that. So do you think I'm completely bashing Nikon and its abilities to shoot video? Yes and no. Nikon is definitely not the most horrible place to start, because I've always been, and I still am, a firm believer of that you should not let your budget determine whatever it is that you're trying to do. And this is especially true for something like cameras. As long as you can shoot 1080p 24 frames per second, you can do a lot of things with it. For example, my entire demo reel that I've shown in this channel, and I'm gonna show a clip of it to you guys now, that is entirely shot, most of it handheld, maybe on tripod, on even natural lighting on this Nikon D5200. When I go to my clients and I talk to them, they're usually surprised. They're like, whoa, is that little camera the camera you're gonna be using, and you're gonna be charging me this amount of money? And I usually surprise them, because at the end of the day, I'm able to produce a result, that a final product that you can't even tell from the most untrained eye, and if you're not a video enthusiast, that my entire thing was shot on a Nikon D5200. Not a 53, not a 55, but a D5200. So overall, to sum up this entire video, I don't recommend you pick up a Nikon, because Nikons are horrible, especially if you're focused on video, because Nikons are much more known to be photo-centric cameras. But if you're fortunate enough, like myself, it's not a bad place to start. It's not the end of the world, and you can always upgrade somewhere down the line. You're much better off spending a couple hundred, especially if you're a complete beginner and like you don't know how to use a camera. Then somewhere down the line you can invest in your skills, then you fully utilize the capabilities of your Nikon, and then you're like, it'll be nice if I have things like focus peaking. Oh, everyone's doing 4K video and 4K video is the norm. Then you might want to look into newer cameras like the Sony a7S III, the Sony a6500, and so on and so on. So, moral of the story, just because a camera is known horrible to be like to shoot videos and things like you can only have a time limit on Nikons, don't let it stop you. It's just like anything in life. I don't have the money should not be an excuse to do something you love. If you really love it, you will find a way. My name is Peter. You're watching Broke Visionary Collective, where we all start with nothing, but you can always create something.